Discipline and motivation are two words that many people confuse. They sound similar, but their essence is completely different. Motivation is like the wind. It comes, it goes, and it changes direction depending on the weather. Discipline, however, is the mountain. It stands unmoved no matter how the wind blows. If you wish to build something meaningful in life, whether it is physical strength, mental clarity, or inner peace, you must learn to rely not on the wind, but on the mountain. When you wake up in the morning, you often feel the difference between these two forces. Some days you feel inspired. The body feels light, the mind is clear, and taking action seems easy. You might train, study, or meditate with energy and joy. But there are also days when everything feels heavy. You don't want to move. You don't feel like doing anything. On those days, motivation is nowhere to be found, and this is where most people fail. They wait for motivation to return before they act. But life does not wait for your feelings. The sun rises whether you feel ready or not. The world continues to move forward even when you are tired, even when you are unmotivated. The truth is, if you depend on motivation, you will live a life of inconsistency. You will always start things, but never finish them. You will always talk about your goals, but never reach them. Discipline is the bridge between intention and accomplishment. Without discipline, your dreams remain ideas. Discipline is not exciting. It is not glamorous. It is often silent and invisible. It happens when no one is watching. It is the choice to do what is right, not what is easy. Discipline means standing up when the bed feels warm. It means training when your muscles ache. It means studying when your mind wants rest. And it means doing it again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. Through discipline, you begin to build something much stronger than motivation, character. Motivation may help you start the journey, but character keeps you walking when the path gets steep. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you add one small stone to the foundation of your inner strength. And over time, that foundation becomes unshakable. There is a saying, do not pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. This is the heart of discipline. Discipline trains you not to wish for comfort, but to grow stronger through discomfort. The body grows through resistance, the weight you lift, the challenges you face, the obstacles you overcome. The mind is the same. It grows when you do things that are difficult, when you remain calm in chaos, and when you continue walking even when the path is dark. When you act only when you feel motivated, you are controlled by your emotions. When you act with discipline, you control your emotions. This is the true meaning of mastery. Mastery begins not with the body, not with the environment, but with the mind. The disciplined person trains the mind every morning. They wake up and take action, not because they feel inspired, but because they have made a promise to themselves. Think of discipline as a seed. Every morning when you wake and take the first step, whether it's training, meditating, or simply doing your work, you water that seed. Some days the soil feels dry and the plant grows slowly. Other days it grows quickly. But as long as you continue to water it, the tree will eventually bear fruit. If you stop, if you wait for the perfect conditions, the seed withers and dies. The difference between the ordinary person and the person who lives with purpose lies in the consistency of small actions. The ordinary person looks for passion, motivation, or inspiration before acting. The purposeful person acts first, and through action they create motivation. Action always precedes feeling, The mind becomes inspired through movement, not before it. Discipline is also the art of simplicity. It is about doing what is necessary, not what is convenient. You do not need to perform miracles each day. You just need to do one thing, take action. Small steps, repeated daily, become great distances over time. You may not notice change immediately, but change is always happening. The mountain is shaped by the wind, not in a single day, but through years of gentle persistence. There will always be moments when you question why you started, when your mind says it doesn't matter today. But every time you give in to that voice, you strengthen the habit of surrender. Every time you overcome it, you strengthen the habit of discipline. Which habit do you want to build? Discipline requires awareness. When you wake up in the morning, notice your thoughts. Notice the voice that says, "Stay in bed." Do not judge it, but also do not obey it. Observe it as you would a passing cloud. Then take a deep breath and rise. That small act, rising when the mind resists, is already victory. You have begun the day by mastering yourself. The truth is, discipline is not punishment, it is freedom. When you are disciplined, you are no longer a slave to mood or circumstance. You do not depend on the external world to feel balanced. You can train anywhere, focus anytime, and grow under any condition. This is inner freedom, the ability to act from will, not from impulse. Discipline transforms effort into peace. At first, it feels heavy. You must push yourself. You must resist comfort. But after some time, what once felt heavy begins to feel natural. The body adapts, the mind adjusts, and the action that once required effort becomes effortless. This is the beauty of discipline. It eventually turns effort into ease. Each morning is an opportunity to practice this. When you rise and take action, you send a message to yourself. I am in control of my life. This message is not about arrogance or pride. It is about alignment. Your body, mind, and spirit begin to work together. The outer action becomes a reflection of your inner intention. In time, you will realize that discipline is not about forcing yourself. It is about remembering who you are. It is about living in harmony with your purpose, instead of being ruled by fleeting emotions. Motivation may start the fire, but discipline keeps it burning through the storms. So each morning, when you feel the resistance, smile at it. That resistance is your teacher. It is there to help you grow. The discomfort you feel is not a sign of weakness, but an invitation to rise above, stand up, move. Act, even if it is just one small step. Take it, because each step, no matter how small, brings you closer to mastery. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about persistence. Some days you will succeed. Some days you will fail. But the key is to return, always return. The strength you seek is built through the act of returning again and again to the path. When you live with discipline, you no longer need to search for motivation. The act itself becomes your reward. The movement, the effort, the breath, they become meditation. Life becomes practice, and in that practice you find peace. So tomorrow, when you wake up and the mind begins to argue, remember, the first battle is not with the world outside, but with the weakness within. Win that battle, and the rest of the day will follow your command. Rise not because you feel like it, but because you have chosen to. Rise not because it is easy, but because it is right. Rise because every sunrise is a reminder that you have been given another chance to live with purpose, to act with strength, and to walk the path of discipline. And when you live this way, one morning at a time, you will discover something extraordinary, that what once required force now flows naturally, and what once felt like struggle now feels like peace. The morning is more than a time of day. It is a symbol of beginnings. Each sunrise is a quiet reminder that life renews itself endlessly. No matter what happened yesterday, the dawn arrives with the same soft light, giving you a new chance to begin again. But what many people forget is that how you meet the morning determines how you meet the rest of your day. The first moments after you wake are not just physical, they are spiritual. They decide whether you walk through the day in control or in confusion, in strength or in weakness. When you wake up, there is a small window of silence, a brief pause before the noise of the world enters. In that silence, you have a choice. You can reach for your phone, drown your mind in distractions, and let the outer world set your rhythm. Or you can rise slowly, breathe deeply, and choose your own pace. That moment defines your direction. Master the morning, and you master the flow of the day. The way you start shapes your state of mind. If you begin in chaos, rushing, complaining, and reacting, the rest of the day will follow that vibration. Your energy will scatter, and your mind will chase one thing after another. But if you start with awareness, calm, deliberate, and focused, everything that follows aligns with that calm. The morning is your foundation. You cannot build a strong day on a weak foundation. When you wake, the body may feel heavy, the mind may resist movement. But remember, the first act you take is not just physical, it is symbolic. When you rise, you are saying to yourself, I choose to begin with intention. Even something as simple as making your bed, stretching your body, or sitting in stillness carries power. It is not the action itself that matters most, but the awareness behind it. To master the morning, you must learn to meet it with discipline and respect. Do not treat it as something to be endured, but as something sacred. When the sun rises, it does so without hesitation. It does not question whether it feels ready. It fulfills its purpose simply because that is its nature. In the same way, you must rise to meet your day without delay. Each morning is a small rebirth, a chance to return to your path with clarity. The morning is also where you plant the seeds of your mindset. The thoughts you choose in those first moments grow throughout the day. If your first thoughts are complaints, the day becomes heavy. If your first thoughts are gratitude, the day becomes light. What you feed your mind early becomes the tone of your reality. You cannot expect peace from a mind that starts the day in noise. Many people underestimate the power of a single morning. They say it's just one day, but every great journey is built from single days, and every single day begins in the morning. The morning is the small circle where your entire life begins to turn. If you learn to direct that circle, your entire existence changes its rhythm. You do not need to control the whole day. You only need to master the first hour. The rest will follow. To master the morning is to master yourself. This is because the first struggle of the day is not against the world outside, but against the laziness and resistance within. When you wake and the voice of comfort whispers, stay in bed, and you rise anyway, that is self, mastery in its purest form. It may seem small, but this small act trains your mind to lead rather than follow. You begin your day already victorious because you have defeated the weakest part of yourself. When you rise early and move with intention, you are aligning yourself with the natural rhythm of life. Nature itself begins its work at dawn. The birds sing, the air feels fresh, the sky opens. The morning has always been a sacred time for reflection, creation, and renewal. To ignore it, to sleep through it, is to miss one of life's greatest gifts, the chance to meet the world before it becomes noisy. The morning is also a mirror. It reflects your level of awareness. If your mind is scattered, your morning will be scattered. If your mind is grounded, your morning will be grounded. This is why rituals are powerful. They anchor the mind in the present moment. It does not matter what your ritual is: meditation, breathing, writing, exercise, silence. What matters is that you do it with full presence. Through repetition, these rituals shape your identity. When you create a consistent morning routine, you teach your mind stability. You build momentum before the world demands anything from you. You give to yourself before you give to others. That is not selfishness, that is balance. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and the morning is your opportunity to fill it. The quality of your morning reflects the quality of your life. A chaotic morning produces a chaotic existence. A peaceful morning produces a peaceful mind. The outer world is often a reflection of the inner world. When you learn to bring order to the first moments of the day, you begin to bring order to everything else. The morning also teaches patience. The sun does not rush to rise. It takes its time, spreading light slowly, gently pushing away darkness. You must learn to do the same. There is no need to wake and immediately rush. Rise with presence, move with awareness. Let your actions be slow but deliberate. Speed is not the same as progress. Progress comes from direction, and direction comes from clarity. The morning gives you that clarity if you allow it. To master the morning, you must also protect it. Guard it from noise, from distraction, from the constant pull of the digital world. If the first thing you see is the chaos of messages and news, your mind begins the day as a battlefield. But if the first thing you see is the simplicity of light, breath, and silence, your mind begins the day as a sanctuary. You do not need many hours. Even 15 minutes of focused awareness can transform your state. What matters is quality, not quantity. A few conscious breaths at sunrise can be more powerful than hours of unconscious movement. In the silence of morning, you can hear yourself clearly. You can feel the direction your life wants to take. You can sense the energy you wish to bring into the world. Once you master this first part of the day, you will notice how everything else flows more easily. Challenges come, but you are centered. Stress appears, but it cannot shake you. Because you began the day grounded, you carry that grounding with you. You no longer chase control, you embody it. There will be days when the morning feels heavy, when your mind resists, when fatigue seems stronger than will. On those days, remind yourself, even the smallest action has power. Simply sitting up, breathing deeply, or taking one step forward is enough. Do not aim for perfection, aim for presence. Each morning is not a test to pass, but an opportunity to align. With time, you will notice that mastering the morning is not just about routine. It is about awareness, a way of living. It is about meeting each sunrise as if it were your first and your last. It is about remembering that the present moment is always new. When you live like this, mornings are no longer ordinary. They become sacred beginnings filled with potential. You may not be able to control what happens throughout the day, the people you meet, the problems that arise, the unexpected turns. But you can always control how you begin it. That control gives you strength. It gives you calm. It gives you the quiet confidence that no matter what happens, you are ready to face it. So tomorrow, when the light enters your room, pause before rushing into the day. Take one deep breath. Feel gratitude for the chance to begin again. Then move with purpose. Rise slowly, but rise fully. Let your first steps carry intention, your first thoughts carry peace, and your first actions carry strength. The morning does not demand perfection from you. It only asks for presence. And when you give it that, it will give you everything in return: clarity, focus, strength, and harmony. Because when you master the morning, you are not just mastering time, you are mastering the art of living. Everything begins with movement. Before there is progress, before there is clarity, before there is mastery, there is a single act, a step forward. Action is the bridge between what is imagined and what is real. Many people wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, or the perfect plan before they act. But the truth is, the perfect moment never arrives. The path only appears after you begin to walk it. The greatest obstacle in life is often not difficulty, but hesitation. The mind hesitates because it fears failure, it fears judgment, it fears change. It whispers, "Not yet, tomorrow, later." And so the days pass, the weeks pass, and the opportunity fades like mist in the morning sun. But when you move, even without certainty, something powerful happens. The hesitation dissolves. The fog in your mind begins to clear. The energy that was trapped inside you starts to flow. Action creates momentum because action changes your state. You cannot think your way into transformation, you must act your way into it. When you move your body, your energy shifts. When you take one step forward, the next step becomes easier. It is like pushing a heavy wheel. At first, it resists. It seems impossible to move. But once it begins to turn, it gathers speed. The more it rolls, the less effort it takes. Momentum becomes your ally. This is why small actions matter. Many people believe that great change requires great effort. But this is not true. Great change comes from consistent effort. A drop of water, falling again and again, can carve a path through stone. In the same way, small daily actions carve the shape of your destiny. One breath, one movement, one decision repeated daily. These are what builds strength. The mind loves to imagine grand results, but it dislikes the small, repetitive steps required to get there. It wants to jump to the end, nor is it cruelty, but life does not work that way. The law of nature is simple. Energy flows where attention goes, and growth follows movement. You cannot think yourself into strength. You must move into it. When you take action, even a small one, you tell the universe, "I am ready." The universe responds not to your wishes, but to your movement. When you act, you align with the natural rhythm of life, a rhythm of constant flow. Rivers do not wait for permission to move. They simply move. The sun does not delay its rising. It simply rises. The tree does not wait to grow. It simply grows. In the same way, your life begins to flow the moment you act. The first step will always feel difficult. There will always be resistance. The mind will invent reasons to delay. It's not the right time. I'm too tired. I'll start tomorrow. But resistance is a sign that you are at the edge of growth. The heavier the resistance feels, the more important the step is. Once you move through it, that resistance weakens. You realize that what held you back was never the world outside, but the voice within. Action teaches you more than thought ever could. You can read books about swimming, but you will never understand water until you step into it. You can dream about strength, but you will never feel it until you push your body. Knowledge becomes wisdom only through experience, and experience begins with action. Many people spend their lives waiting to feel confident before they begin. But confidence does not come first. It is born from action. Each time you act, you gain evidence that you are capable. Each time you follow through, you strengthen your trust in yourself. And soon, what once seemed impossible becomes natural. The mountain that once looked too high becomes a path beneath your feet. Momentum is not just physical, it is mental and spiritual. When you act with purpose, you begin to align your inner world with your outer actions. The body, mind, and spirit start to move in the same direction. This alignment gives rise to power, not the power of control, but the power of harmony. The feeling that you are no longer fighting yourself, but flowing with life. There is wisdom in motion. When you begin, you may not know where you are going. You may not have all the answers, but as you move, you learn. Each step gives you new information, new perspective. The path reveals itself only to those who walk it. This is why hesitation is the true enemy. It keeps you blind. You cannot steer a ship that is not moving. Once it moves, even slowly, you can guide its direction. In every aspect of life, momentum is the key. In training, in learning, in personal growth, consistency matters more than intensity. It is better to move a little every day than to move a lot once in a while. The rhythm of small actions creates stability. Just as the heartbeat must be steady for the body to live, your effort must be steady for your goals to live. You must learn to value the process over the result. The mind is impatient, it seeks immediate reward. But true transformation happens quietly below the surface, like roots growing in the dark before a tree breaks through the ground. When you take action daily, even without visible results, you are still growing. You are strengthening the roots of your being. There will be days when progress feels invisible, days when it seems that nothing is changing. On those days, remember, movement itself is victory. To continue when the results are unseen is to build resilience. To act without guarantee is to cultivate faith. Every step you take in darkness is shaping the light that will come. The secret of momentum is that it feeds itself. Once you act, you feel energy. That energy inspires the next action. Soon, what was once forced becomes natural. You begin to enjoy the movement, the growth, the rhythm. Life starts to move through you instead of against you. You no longer wait for motivation, you generate it. You no longer depend on circumstances, you create them. Action is also purification. When you act, you release the stagnant energy that builds up from inaction. Fear, doubt, and anxiety often live in stillness. They thrive when you do nothing, but when you move, they lose their grip. It is impossible to remain fearful while fully engaged in purposeful movement. The body in motion teaches the mind courage. If you wish to transform any part of your life, begin with a single act. Do not wait to understand everything. Do not wait to feel ready. Read one page, take one step, speak one word. The small act is not insignificant. It is the key that unlocks momentum. One small step forward is worth more than 1,000 perfect plans that remain unexecuted. When you act, you become part of the living current of existence. You begin to experience the truth that life rewards movement. Opportunities meet you halfway. Synchronicities appear. Doors open, not because the world has changed, but because you have changed your state. When you move, your perception expands. You begin to see possibilities that stillness could not reveal. Even when you fall, action teaches. Failure is not the opposite of progress, it is part of progress. Every mistake contains a lesson that cannot be learned in theory. The one who acts learns. The one who waits only wonders. Each fall is an invitation to rise with more wisdom and more strength. Remember, momentum is not about speed. It is about direction and persistence. The river does not rush, it flows. Its power comes not from haste, but from constancy. It may take years to carve through rock, but it never stops. Be like the river, move daily, calmly, purposefully. The destination is not as important as the movement itself. And when you live this way, when action becomes your natural state, something extraordinary happens. Life begins to feel lighter. You stop overthinking. You stop doubting. You realize that clarity is not something you wait for, but something you create through movement. You understand that every great transformation begins not with the mind, but with the first step. So, each day, when you feel hesitation rise within you, do not wait for courage. Act first. The courage will follow. Do not wait for the path to be clear. Step forward, and the path will reveal itself. The energy you seek is hidden inside the action you avoid. Move toward it. Begin now, because once you take the first step, the universe moves with you. Every living thing grows through resistance. The seed must break through the soil to reach the light. The bird must struggle against the shell before it can fly. The body must endure pressure to grow stronger, and the mind must face challenge to become wise. Without resistance, there is no growth. What we call difficulty is not an obstacle placed before us, it is the path itself. Many people wish for life to be easy. They hope for a path without pain, without effort, without struggle. But an easy life does not create a strong spirit. Comfort does not awaken potential. It is only when you meet resistance, when your plans fail, when your strength is tested, when you are forced to endure discomfort, that your true nature begins to reveal itself. Resistance is not the enemy, it is the teacher. Every challenge you face carries within it the opportunity to learn something about yourself. When you encounter resistance, you are given a chance to see who you really are beneath the surface, beyond comfort, beyond habit, beyond fear. You can choose to run away from it, or you can choose to face it and grow. Strength does not appear suddenly. It is built through consistent confrontation with resistance. Just as the body grows through training, the mind grows through difficulty. Each time you push through a mental wall, each time you overcome the voice that says I can't, you expand your limits. What once felt impossible becomes normal. What once felt heavy becomes light. In truth, resistance is energy in disguise. It is the raw material from which strength is shaped. If you learn to face it, it will serve you. If you avoid it, it will control you. When you feel resistance, that moment when your mind says, not today, I'm too tired, it's too hard, recognize that moment as sacred. That is the exact moment when transformation begins. Most people turn away when resistance appears. They stop, they retreat, or they look for a shortcut. But those who endure, those who move through it, discover something powerful, that resistance is not as strong as it seems. It loses its power once you act, like a shadow that looks enormous from a distance, but disappears when you walk toward it. Resistance shrinks in the light of awareness. To grow, you must train yourself to seek resistance rather than avoid it. Not because suffering is desirable, but because growth is impossible without friction. If you always move only toward what is comfortable, you will live a life that is small. The muscles of your body and the muscles of your will both require tension to become strong. You cannot sharpen a blade without grinding it against stone. You cannot refine the spirit without testing it against hardship. When you face resistance, do not complain. Observe, feel it fully. The discomfort you feel is not punishment, it is information. It tells you where your limits are, and therefore where your next lesson lies. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? That single shift in perspective turns struggle into training and pain into wisdom. Resistance also teaches patience. Growth does not happen instantly. The process of transformation requires time, effort, and endurance. You cannot rush the unfolding of strength any more than you can rush the sunrise. The key is persistence, to keep moving even when progress is invisible. Every moment of effort is recorded within you. Every repetition, every act of courage leaves a trace that builds your foundation. When you train the body, you deliberately create resistance to grow stronger. You lift weights, you push, you pull, you stretch. You make the muscles endure stress so they can rebuild with more strength. The same is true for the mind. Life will present you with emotional and mental weights, setbacks, rejection, uncertainty, loss. If you face them with awareness instead of avoidance, your inner strength grows. Your capacity for patience, compassion, and resilience expands. The essence of strength is not in avoiding struggle, but in remaining calm within it. Resistance will always be present in your work, in your relationships, in your training, in your thoughts. You cannot eliminate it, but you can learn to dance with it. When you stop fighting against resistance and start working with it, it becomes a tool rather than a burden. There will be times when resistance feels unbearable, when your energy fades, when your heart feels heavy, when every step seems uphill. In those moments, remember that you have faced difficulty before and you survived. You have already proven that you can endure more than you once believed. The memory of your past endurance is proof that you can endure again. Resistance is not a wall meant to stop you. It is a mirror meant to show you your own power. Without it, you would never know your strength. Without it, there would be no depth to your character, no resilience in your spirit. What gives a mountain its majesty is not the smoothness of its path, but the steepness of its climb. Each time you overcome resistance, your mind becomes quieter. You begin to understand that struggle is not something to fear, but something to embrace. The more resistance you face, the more unshakable you become. The storms no longer frighten you, because you have learned that you are the mountain, not the cloud. There is a deep peace that comes from walking through resistance. It is the peace of knowing that you are no longer a prisoner of your own weakness. You begin to trust yourself not because life has become easier, but because you have become stronger. And when you trust yourself, fear begins to dissolve. Fear cannot survive in a mind that knows its own power. In this way, resistance builds more than strength. It builds freedom. Each time you confront what you once avoided, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. The areas of your life that once felt heavy, the tasks you once postponed, the fears you once ran from, they no longer hold you. You become lighter, not because the world changes, but because you do. Growth is never comfortable, but comfort never leads to growth. If you truly wish to live fully, you must be willing to meet discomfort with courage. You must train the mind to stay still in the face of resistance, not to run, not to complain, but to observe and continue. Every breath taken through challenge purifies the spirit. Every act of endurance polishes the soul. The one who learns to embrace resistance transforms pain into power. They no longer ask for an easier path, they ask for a stronger step. They no longer fear failure, they see it as part of the journey. They no longer depend on external ease, they draw strength from inner stability. Over time, you begin to realize that resistance was never truly against you. It was always guiding you toward your own potential. It was showing you where you were still asleep, where you were still afraid, where you still doubted yourself. Each challenge becomes a reminder that you are alive, that you are capable, that there is still more within you to awaken. So the next time you face resistance, whether in your training, your work, or your thoughts, welcome it. Breathe into it. Instead of wishing it away, thank it for arriving. It is there to help you grow. Meet it with patience, meet it with awareness, and move through it with quiet strength. Because every moment of resistance you overcome becomes part of you. It becomes your wisdom, your stability, your calmness. And when life brings storms, you will not be shaken because you have trained for them. You have learned that strength is not built in ease, but in the willingness to endure. You will come to see that resistance is not something outside of you. It is life itself testing your readiness to rise. And when you rise again and again, something beautiful happens. The resistance no longer feels like struggle. It becomes a familiar companion, a reminder that you are still growing. In the end, resistance does not break you, it refines you. It shapes you into the person you were meant to become, strong, calm, and unshakable.